Looking over the devastated fields, we knew the enemy of the harvest was no ordinary foe. Locals spoke of monstrous wild boars, massive, weighing hundreds of kilos and viciously aggressive. Each night, they lurked in the dark, tearing through crops, spreading fear across the entire village. No one dared step outside once night fell. Our mission was clear: find these beasts and bring peace back to our homeland. At dawn, we set off, each with a role to play. The low forest ahead was their hideout, and our first true challenge in this dangerous hunt. We didn't need fresh tracks. The old trails between the feeding ground and the dense woods already revealed their path. Our team was in position before sunrise, silent inside a small wooden blind hidden among the low trees. When the herd crept out of the forest edge, I locked my eyes on the target, slowed my breathing. A sharp crack. The leader dropped instantly. The rest scattered into the underbrush in Wild boars aren't easy to fool, but their habits betray them. All we needed was patience and striking at the perfect moment. That's the art of experience. After the first herd was taken down, it wasn't even half an hour before another emerged. 2 lead boars appeared first, cautious, scanning every shadow. We didn't rush. One wrong shot here would send the whole herd fleeing.
You ready?
We waited. Absolute calm was crucial. A single mistake wouldn't just scare them off, it could alert the entire forest. John didn't flinch. Only when the lead boar stepped exactly into position did he squeeze the trigger. The bullet sliced through the air and hit dead center. The beast collapsed, and the rest bolted for cover. That shot wasn't luck, it was the product of patience, sharp eyes, and lightning-fast reflexes. I broke off from the group, heading down toward the lower fields where tall grasses grew thick. Step by step, I checked the GPS, alarm sensors, and wind direction. Then, under a flattened patch of grass, I spotted fresh prints. Immediately, I crouched low, finger poised on the trigger. Suddenly, a boar burst out just meters ahead. The bullet found its mark. A clean, decisive takedown. There was no other choice. This was about safety for the villagers and for ourselves. If you think that was a cool shot, drop a like. Peace didn't last long. We moved cautiously back toward the wooden blind, every step alert. Then, from the brush, a lone boar emerged, more driven by hunger than caution. I didn't hesitate. I raised the rifle, aimed, and fired. A sharp shot. The creature fell instantly. In that still moment, swift precision was the line between success and blind luck. We moved up the hillside next, high enough to overlook the entire forest below. Wild boars were dense cover. But once they've been tracked, there's nowhere left to hide. When a dark shape lunged from the bushes, I pulled the trigger. The shot from above tore through the air. The animal staggered. Seconds later, our hounds closed in. No second shot needed. Everything ended in moments. The coordination between hunter and hound isn't just training. It's born from countless battles fought side by side. By late afternoon, just when we thought the hunt was over, the dogs suddenly erupted in barks, urgent and loud. A clear signal, another boar was near. Without hesitation, we regrouped and advanced. In the distance, the dogs drove the beast into an open patch of land. It thrashed wildly, searching for escape, but there was none. John closed in, aimed carefully. Bang! A clean shot ended it instantly. We climbed back into the Land Cruiser, rolling slowly along the dusty trail. Behind us lay a long day of sweat, gunfire, and tracks etched into the earth. No one spoke, but every face carried quiet satisfaction. Eyes drifting toward the fields now safe once more. For the peace of our people, for the safety of the land, we'll always be ready. As the peaceful morning unfolded over the grayish-white rooftops of Alberobello, we were working with the locals to reinforce the fence protecting the olive groves. Suddenly, the shrill ring of a phone broke the calm, delivering an urgent message. Wild boar tracks had been discovered in the nearby woods, threatening to spill into the village fields. Without hesitation, our hunting team sprang into action, grabbing binoculars, walkie-talkies, and rifles. We knew this wouldn't just be another hunt. We were about to face a pack of wild beasts, and it was up to us to stop them before it was too late. Join us on the hunt. Setting off from the hill near the mulberry fields, we followed a trail right up to the forest edge. Suddenly, our hunting dog surged ahead, barking sharply, alert, and on edge. The team halted immediately. From experience, we knew a large black boar was hiding just behind the dense bushes. No chance to waste. John, the most seasoned hunter in the crew, calm and decisive, fired a quick, clean shot. The beast dropped instantly, quickly surrounded by the pack of dogs. But everyone knew the nightmare was just beginning. The rest of the herd wouldn't be so easy to handle. The real hunt had begun. As the hill grew steeper, we decided to move with Mark's red Ford Ranger to approach the opposite slope. Upon arrival, a heavy noise echoed from the hilltop, signaling the boar herd's charge was imminent. We took up ambush positions. Sure enough, moments later, a group of hefty wild boars thundered down the hill like runaway tanks. Gunshots cracked through the air, cutting down a few of them. But the herd was massive. The whole hillside trembled. For a moment, it felt like we were swallowed by a living wall of wild pigs. Without hesitation, John charged to block the front. Mark was right behind him. The final shot rang out, boom. The boar was fully controlled. The others panicked and scattered deep into the forest. Thanks to tight teamwork and sharp marksmanship, our hunting squad always completes the mission of protecting the forest peace. At midday, under the blazing sun, the team took a well-earned break. Suddenly, the dogs erupted into frantic barking from the hillside. As a hunter, I sensed the troublemaker was close. Following the trail, I found the dog surrounding a large boar, cornering it before it could escape downhill. A quick sight, a steady squeeze of the trigger, no wasted movement, absolute precision. The threat was neutralized. A tense finish, sweat dripping, one moment of carelessness, and the target could have vanished. This hunt was getting tougher by the minute. As dusk fell, the last rays faded behind the hills. Mark raised his scope, scanning the tree line. Suddenly, a large shadow appeared from the bushes, slowly heading toward the field below. Though distant, its eyes locked on us like a warning. Mark fired immediately. The shot startled the beast, sending it fleeing. John fired 2 more rounds, forcing it back into the woods. Though we didn't bring it down, we pushed the threat away from the farmland. The dogs' howls echoed as we sprinted along the hillside trail. John took the lead, spotting a boar trying to break into the field. He fired. The 7mm round sliced the air, but the boar was quick, dodging the shots and slipping into thick brush, making targeting nearly impossible. Refusing to give up, we pressed on. On a gentler slope, when the boar stepped on some wild shrubs, John fired again, boom. The first bullet hit, the boar charged toward us. A second shot followed immediately. The beast went down. The crops were safe, and so were we. By day's end, golden sunlight bathed the hillside. From afar, we spotted a writhing herd of wild boars devouring crops at the hill's base. Mark's radio crackled urgently. John opened fire, hitting several. The rest scattered wildly, retreating uphill toward the forest. Watching their escape route, I signaled the team not to pursue further. At least, we saved the village's harvest today. We returned to Albero as twilight fell. Mark scrolled through the day's footage on his iPhone. Gunshots, forest footsteps, heart-beating chases. Everyone was tired, but today's victory was worth it. The hunt may be over for now, but the mission to protect the fields continues. What do you think about this wild boar raid? Leave a comment, share the video, and follow us so you don't miss the next adventure. The radios blared non-stop, GPS signals flashing on the small screen. We signaled to one another, gripping our weapons tightly, breaths heavy in the thick, suffocating air. Cold sweat trickled down, even though the forest air was freezing. A sudden strike from the wild boars seemed imminent, but everything was still within our control. Every step, every encirclement had been calculated with precision. I moved carefully through a thicket of grass, knowing a single misstep could alert the boars. Success or failure would be decided in these very moments. Then, amid the whistling wind and rustling leaves, a familiar sound broke through, the pounding of hooves crashing through the grass. The boar burst out, charging straight at me. A sharp gunshot cracked, but it still lunged forward. Luckily, I dodged just in time. It all happened within a heartbeat, victory hanging by a thread. Meanwhile, Jack had just taken down another target. He swept carefully through the tall grass, determined not to let any escape. And just as predicted, one charged out, heading straight toward its doom, completely unaware. Jack attacked with precision. Boom. A swift, decisive shot ended it, the result of years of discipline and training. The tension faded, replaced by relief. Another boar controlled, another step toward peace for the entire village. Then it happened again. The GPS signaled, another boar appeared near a dirt road not far away. It darted out like an arrow, but we had already spotted it. In a flash, I locked on. This was the chance, it had no escape. I pulled the trigger. The bullet tore through the air, dropping the target instantly. We pressed forward to the field's edge, alert and cautious. Before we could even steady ourselves, another target emerged. As the footsteps grew louder, I tightened my grip on the rifle. The boar burst out at full speed. I opened fire, bullets raining down, but it managed to vanish into the dense underbrush. Wounded, the boar forced its way into a thick bush, but after all the destruction it had caused, there would be no forgiveness. I closed in, delivering the final shot, an end to its suffering, and a return of peace to the village. A fitting fate for a destroyer. We continued deeper into the neighboring forest, adjusting our pursuit to match the new terrain. Through the camera, I spotted multiple boars hiding nearby. My eyes scanned every detail, missing nothing, not even the smallest trace. A massive boar charged straight at me, like it wanted to strike me down. Boom. I squeezed the trigger, instinct refined through thousands of drills. This time, it was real and it saved me. The target collapsed instantly. Terrifying. 1 second too late, and I would have been the prey. The chase went on. My team and I subdued several more targets, restoring safety to this land once again. As dusk fell, our sharp-nosed dogs flushed another boar into the open. My teammate finished it quickly, eliminating the threat and protecting me in the process. Another clean takedown to close out the day. There's no better feeling than knowing that after this hunt, the villagers can finally sleep peacefully without fear for their coming harvests. Life once again could be calm. This hunt didn't end with the final gunshot, but with a collective sigh of relief as the remaining boars scattered deep into the forest. Spring had just touched the village of Alberobello. As the first shoots of green appeared on the hillside, a pack of wild boars emerged from the deep forest, fierce and destructive. They trampled crops, dug up vegetable fields, and threatened the coming harvest. Traps were useless and guns were too loud. So, we, the hunters of the village, had to take to the forest, armed with our bows, eyes sharp as the strings of our crossbows. Hunting wild boar with a bow is no easy task, but it is the way we protect our crops. It's also the moment when a true hunter's skill and courage are put to the test. Join us on this journey. The whole team moved silently into position, adjusting cameras, bowstrings, and razor-sharp arrows. We waited, eyes fixed on the distant meadow. Suddenly, a wild boar charged out from the brush, attempting a surprise attack. Every movement was meticulously prepared. I adjusted the sight, drew the bowstring, and aimed directly at the beast. When it was within range, I released the string twang. arrow flew through the air, swift and precise. Everything went smoothly, but the team stayed cautious, always ready for the next move. Peace didn't last long. From a distance, we spotted 2 wild boars creeping in, leisurely feeding on the crops. The team immediately returned to position. I slowly raised my bow, eyes locked on the lead boar sniffing the ground. A deep breath. Draw the string. Twang. The arrow sped through the air, striking the large boar and sending it into a panic. The other one, startled, turned and bolted into the forest. We didn't need to kill them all. We only needed to make sure they knew this land is watched over and protected. Under the blazing sun, we split up to patrol the trap areas, each of us lying in wait to block the invaders. I chose an old tree as my ambush point. A few minutes later, a hefty wild boar trudged closer, its keen nose still unaware of my presence. My heart pounded, sweat beating on my forehead. When it was within range, I released the arrow, which flew like a streak of fire, embedding itself perfectly in the beast. It leaped up and fell, lifeless in the deep forest. Patience and decisiveness in every moment. These are what helped my team defend the land and fend off the relentless invaders. At midday, we silently crept toward the forest edge. From the tall grass ahead, dark backs began to emerge, wild boars moving in unaware. I picked my shooting angle. When the lead boar stepped clear of the grass, I released the bowstring. The arrow whipped through the air, striking the target. It paused, then bolted, the rest of the pack following suit. A successful ambush came down to meticulous planning and the ability to read the terrain inch by inch. If you think this move was cool, hit us with a like to show your support. We rested on the hillside, taking a break from the morning-long pursuit. The sun began to dip low. John sat still, his eyes fixed on the valley below. Suddenly, he gestured. The team quickly followed his gaze. A pack of wild boars was heading toward the bait traps. Without hesitation, John drew his bow, took a deep breath, and released the string.
Well, that was awesome, guys.
The arrow cut through the air, striking the lead boar. The rest of the pack scattered in panic. That was enough. The destructive pack was driven off, and the crops were temporarily safe. Later in the afternoon, as we were packing up to end the hunt, we spotted 2 wild boars creeping toward the field's edge. From our position on the hillside, John quietly drew his bow. A soft twang sounded. And the arrow sped through the air, striking the lead boar. The rest of the pack ran off. That was enough to protect this land. The Range Rover slowly rolled along the red dirt road back to the village, laden with the fruits of a long, hot, and dusty day in the woods. Inside the vehicle, no one spoke much, but in each of our hearts, there was a shared feeling, a sense of peace, satisfaction, and readiness. We weren't just hunting, we were protecting life, peace, and the rest of the farmers who work at the foot of this hill. Hit follow to continue joining us as we journey through the mountains and forests, writing the next chapter in the battle against the destroyers, for the crops, for the people, and for peace.